I watch episode 44 of Pokemon every year because I watch every episode of Pokemon every year. In episode 44, Showdown at Dark City, Ash and friends enter a failed state for no reason. They have no reasons to be in Dark City. In the end, they left the same way that they came. As they wander the empty streets, they see a child being chastised for trying to experience joy. Dark City is more dark than City. The main cast questions her concern as they stand perfectly still to make themselves easy targets. From the rooftops, a rock war is instigated, to which Ash responds by commanding Pikachu to attack the toddlers at full force. As both groups try to justify their fear-driven acts of violence, an adult breaks up their bickering and offers them food if they follow him. In exchange for a hot meal, he shares his sob story. Hearing a stranger talk about their trauma is the only way that Ash and friends can enjoy their meals. As he sings for their supper, Ash commands Pikachu to apply a tomato-based condiment on his dish, which Pikachu also does at full force. Pikachu can only ever do the most. As the restaurateur rambles on about the rising gang violence rises. Dark City is the home of two unofficial gang-affiliated Pokemon gyms, the Kaz Gym and the Yaz Gym. In the forgotten outskirts of civilization, organized crime is the only thing that's organized. Both gangs hope to legitimize their gyms, but Dark City isn't big enough for either of them. To hold the rumble crown of this tumble-down dump of a town, the color-coded commandos continuously create chaos. They battle in broad daylight with no regard for the safety or respect of the surrounding citizens. When it's overalls versus capes, everyone loses. Sporting new gang affiliation, the usual suspects make an early entrance. When in Rome, impersonate centurions. They demand free foods that aren't even on the menu, but are refused service because they didn't attack any of the small children first. As the malcontent wanderers mollywop the food service worker, a mysterious pink-haired person leaves the scene. Brock intervenes with Vulpix, who one-shots them using its fire attack inside of a building constructed mainly of wood. Too dark for Dark City, they leave. Their act of violence is seen by a member of the Yaz gang, who congratulates them for defeating their shared enemy. The Yaz Queen offers Ash and friends employment, which they accept under obvious fake names. They are more worried about getting caught participating in gang activity than actually committing crimes. Tom, Ado, and friends follow the honeypot to the gang's clubhouse, where the gangsters are so evil that they are introduced with their own art style. The homely harlot hypes up the heroes to the head honcho, but the Yaz leader doesn't respect the opinion of the only woman in the gang, who is never seen again after this scene. As Scyther slashes forward at them, Tom, Ann, and Caesar stand perfectly still, and Pikachu sacrifices its snack sauce to defend them. The vinegar-based acid drenches Scyther's eyes, distorting its vision as it drips down its face. It cries in pain as it attacks its owner indiscriminately, both ignorant of the source of the saucy betrayal. With a fistful of Pokeball, the Yaz King relents and reveals that his impetus for erecting a Pokemon gym was purely for profit. Mo problems, mo money. With more conviction than Ash has ever had, Tom refuses the role of bodyguard, but his resolute rebuttal is rescinded as he too falls to the might of his namesake. They escape the clutches of unregulated capitalism and return to their last known location, where Pikachu shows more penitence for the broken ketchup bottle than for the children that it broke. In a flashback to 4 minutes ago, Ash realizes that Scyther is photosensitive to the color red, except on clothing or on objects, just specifically the ketchup shade of red. Pikachu again used crimson coloring to debilitate its enemies. Gotta catch up all. Scyther suffers from scarlet fever along with the other gang leader's main Pokemon, elelelelelelululu. Eager to exploit the coincidental medical condition, they rig Ruby booby traps on the rooftops. The storyline diverges from that of one of the greatest movies ever made to that of one of the other greatest movies ever made. Now on, very similarly to Donkey Kong, they paint the town red. Coordinated by the colors, Scyther and attack their red-faced masters. Despite hearing familiar voices pleading with them to stop, they keep swinging. Who's that Pokemon? Plausible deniability. Believing that their maroon masters had learned their lesson, the children make the Pokemon commit vermilion violence against each other. In each other's eyes, Scyther and see their shared illness and exhaust themselves. But still the bosses have learned nothing. As they attempt to physically assault the small children, the healthcare professional reveals herself. The undercover inspector was already onto the gym scam. The children with no names didn't need to show up to the showdown. They could have been left in the dark about Dark City. Their only real contribution was unnecessary food waste. The scoundrels submit to the authority of her figure, now pleading for purgation and a path forward. Instead of informing them how to run a proper gym herself, she puts the RNA in learnable, directing them to the only of the 3 children who doesn't have experience running their own gym. The boy fails to make a compelling argument, but they still believe him because they still believe his fake name. They are just as stupid as he is. They aren't the ripest tomatoes on the vine. They work together to rebuild Dark City board by board, which they are also probably unqualified to accomplish. With no lessons learned nor taught, Ash and friends leave Dark City the same way that they came, knowing that a real gym would never be established here. If they really believed in them, they wouldn't have left with such haste. Dark City nor any of its inhabitants are ever seen again. All of them actually were without names. No one had names in the last episode either. Episode 44 is securely in the second half of the season, in the middle of a stretch of 27 episodes where Ash makes no progress on gym badges whatsoever. It is one of many empty adventures that adds nothing with its existence. Episode 33 through 57 put the pit in pit stop. As they leave, the actual children with no names thank Pikachu specifically. Even though it caused them the most harm, it was the only one of them whose actual name they knew. Pikachu alone never hid behind a fake name or a cheap disguise, and its authenticity is rewarded with adoration. The most violent among them is rewarded once again because in one way or another, violence is always to be continued.